Digest.
Hey guys, I just wanted to touch base. I've moved on from this so-called Graal community. Like, I don't really need to stick around because I don't believe in it. I know the truth about stuff and I don't need you to validate that. And quite frankly, I don't need the mental illness that goes on in this game community of really weird random players who are obsessed with attacking grown adults and they think that there's something beneficial to be done with that. There's a lot of people in this community who have walked out of this whole war for control, and the thing is that it's a real war. Not all war is actually physical. A lot of war is it's what we call a cold war, which is very psychological and emotional. So virtual wars, they can be simulated, and that's okay. But then sometimes they're actually real, where you have people who are actually fighting with each other and trying to destroy each other's reputations because at least somebody in the mix on the different opposing sides wants some kind of power. There's going to be collateral damage and there's also just going to be damage. I think, honestly, a lot of you do have PTSD. Like, you don't know that you have PTSD, but I think that a lot of you have PTSD. I know that there have been suicide attempts. I know that there have been a lot of people who are just kind of losing their fucking minds. Like, I've kind of checked in on some people and you can look at their social media and they fucking lost it, dude. Like, it's like they're not even real people anymore. They're like constantly looking over their shoulder, freaking the fuck out, having to continue, holding their lies up because it's a lot easier to continue holding a lie up and living with their trauma than it is to just embarrass themselves and admit the truth, and give up everything. So that's only going to change when you allow it to change. And even if you, for whatever reason, can't find the courage to be truthful about the things that you've done in this community and the people that you've backstabbed and betrayed, you're going to have to, regardless, deal with your trauma. And, that's the thing is, we know that when there's physical war, we know that veterans go through trauma and they live with that for the rest of their life. And it's very similar to what happens when there's a Cold War. So, you'll experience this kind of scenario when you look into children who have overcome and dealt with childhood abuse, or let's just say partners of domestic violence, whether it be a man or a woman, whoever it is somebody who undergoes an enormous amount of stress and pressure, betrayal, and abuse in general, backstabbing, gaslighting, losses, fear for their survival, devastation, no resolution to their devastation, no compassion, apparently no sense of a higher power who's doing anything to stop this stuff, whether that be people or some spiritual force, it doesn't matter. Anything that's lacking in that department to rectify the situations, then what you wind up with is somebody who just is broken. They become broke inside. They're stuck with what they call cognitive dissonance. So your mind becomes split between alternate possibilities and it's stuck in this confused state. It can actually fragment your circuitry, your neurological circuitry. And so it's kind of similar to how DID disorder is developed, which is, by the way, quote unquote, it's permanent, saved by a miracle. So, you live with DID for the rest of your life. And PTSD or complex trauma is an aspect of DID. It's just a lesser form of it. It's a conscious form of it. So your brain kind of fragments into different pieces. And so people who go through traumatic experiences in combat, like in the army, and again, war is not just physical, but let's just take this for example, veterans of physical fighting that takes place, maybe overseas or whatever it is. They will fragment their mind. Their mind is experiencing such a different alternate reality when it comes to the environment of the socioeconomic political system, which is also temporarily suspended, because there's no rules in war. I mean, there's some rules, but there's quote unquote no rules in war. So living outside of rules, yeah, it can seem kind of liberating and fun, but then when they get back home, they realize that they don't know if they can ever really trust reality again, because if you can exist in these temporal autonomous zones where rules and laws don't exist and moral codes and karma doesn't take place, they're either haunted by the fear of karma or they're haunted by the fear that there is no karma, So, this, and that's not the only thing that causes the trauma. Just being in that state in general, and the people that they've killed, and a lot of these other things that have altered the hippocampus is enlarged. And especially if it's done for an extended period of time, what happens is that it becomes kind of permanently enlarged. Anyways, I just think it's really important that you guys recognize that there's a Cold War growing and going on in what we call Graal. And this is not real Graal. This is Unix Matt's sick piracy experiment where he's preying off of children. And the admins know that that's what's happening, and they're completely guilty. They know what he's doing, and they're in on it. So, let's not just kind of write him off as the only one who's doing it. They're all fucking in on it, and they won't admit to it. They'd rather gaslight and attack you and attack anybody else who's exposing what's happening and try to pretend that there's no evidence and that everyone's just crazy and blah, blah, blah. And of course, this is all international stuff. So it's like there's no international police force. And if there is, there is, but there isn't. People think that like the police take care of global matters. They really don't. Like global matters are taken care of maybe 1% of the time. The other 99% of the time, international predators just prey off of other people from other countries and they get away with it. So the admins know that. They're going to try to pretend that international legislative systems are somehow, this big, profoundly established force that everybody has access to. This has never been the truth. And when you become an adult, you'll realize how much you're being actually fucking lied to. And that's will be proven, and you will know when you become an adult. Like that there's no question. You will know when you become an adult that these admins who are pretending to be your friends and pretending not to know that Unix Matt's a predator and that they're helping him and that they're now predators too, you will know that they are lying to you. There is no question about it. Unless there's something lacking inside of your brain that is incapable of comprehending how life works, you will reach a level of intellectual and emotional maturity, and you will know that you're being lied to. You don't know now, but you will. Usually, especially around the age of 30. Around the age of 30, you will have developed enough experience and enough emotional experience that you will know you're being fucking lied to. They know that you don't know now because you're children. So they're going to keep doing it. And the admins are they're sick. Like, it takes a really sick person to sit around and make graphics for a child predator in a game that's been stolen from children, and to watch the victims come back and to laugh at them and to slander them and to join in and convince other children to slander them as well. That takes a really sick fucking individual. Like, you might be talented at making graphics, but you don't belong in society. So I hope you know that. Like, you might be talented at some things, but you don't belong in society and you don't deserve to be in society. So these people are fucking with you, and you will develop another form of some kind of complex inside your head about it. Like, how does this happen and how do we get away with it? And there's a number of you who've just fucked with myself or just fucked with each other. You fucked with other people in the community. You fucked with Unix Mad, or other people have been fucking with you, and you just have all of this anxiety and fear and trauma now inside of you because nobody's getting along. Everybody's kind of threatening each other. Everyone's trying to expose each other. Everyone's slandering each other, backstabbing each other. People are swatting each other. People doing all kinds of weird stuff to each other. Like, I'm removing myself from the situation, and I have removed myself from the situation. And I came back to do a job that was courageous and needed to be done. I am moving the fuck on. I don't care if you appreciate me. I don't care what you say about me, because I have no control over that. And I also don't trust, like, most of the people in this community. Like, you guys are either really decent and good to me, or you're also, like, really just kind of fucked up and self-centered, and you'll just say and do anything to try to ruin someone's life. Like, I don't need to be a part of this. I've never profited off of what's been stolen from me, so I'm not going to stick around to try to help lead people out of hell when all you're trying to do is now punish me for pointing out what's right and what's wrong. So anyways, I'm moving on. But a lot of you still have trauma, and you're going to have to confront that. There's a reason why a lot of you are depressed and suicidal. And doubling down on your points and reiterating your relationships with the people who are enabling you to do predatory behavior that led to you being traumatized in the first place is not going to be conducive. A lot of you are going to have to walk away. And I don't give a fuck what you do with your lives, but anyway, I just wanted you all to know that you might have issues that you should probably take care of. And if nothing else, I forgive you. I don't want you in my life anymore. I forgive you, but I don't want you in my life anymore, but I forgive you. I'll repeat. And I hope that you forgive yourselves, and I hope that you forgive each other, and I hope that you all just move through life and you figure out how to heal from the situation. You are in a fake community ran by child predators. Whether you believe that or not, it's not going to change the effects it has on your psyche. So, like, I hope you are honest enough and courageous enough to admit to yourself that just because you may or may not believe it, or others may or may not validate that, doesn't mean it's not real. You are going to develop psychological issues from being in this community. A lot of you are already, like I said, kind of breaking down emotionally and intellectually after everything we went through, because we're all kind of at war. And again, I'm sorry for all that and that we've all been dragged into that. Like, I'm sorry that we've all had to go through that. I forgive you. I forgive myself. And I haven't been perfect. I'm not as bad as people are pretending I am, but I know that I haven't been perfect. So, I'm a man enough, I'm a big enough person to say that, yeah, I may not have been perfect. It's not easy exposing child predation. It's certainly not easy being up against a community of everybody warring for power and relevance. So for those of you who I may have hurt inadvertently, and just because I'm saying that doesn't mean that includes you. But, because there's some of you who that, like, you fucked me over and that you're the guilty party. So let's, either way, I forgive you in that situation. But in the situations where there was collateral damage, I want you to know that I personally would ask for your forgiveness, and that we can all just kind of move past this, and eventually whatever has to happen with the Unix Med situation, this weird creep in another country who's been living in mansions off of other children's blood, sweat, and tears. Like, I just, I said what I had to say. My opinion has not changed on the matter, because right and wrong doesn't change based on how many people decide to bully me or threaten me or falsely flag me to the police. Like, none of that has anything to do with morals. Like, the moral situation has not changed. But I have withdrawn from it because it's not conducive to anything. It's toxic, it's foul, and it's going nowhere. But anyway, I have actually trademarked Graal in an English language and for a separate field. So I've achieved a huge portion of success, and that means a lot to me. But anyway, I wish you all the best.